that's just the definition of community. You feel like okay when you're on your own, you feel like okay you are going far. You don't know the possibility of things. At a point, I never thought maybe I will apply for a job from Nigeria and I'll get a global job or a worldwide job. I never thought about that point in my life. I was just thinking of if I can work at InterSwitch or I can work at maybe Sterling Bank or Flutterwave, I've made it in life. That's because of lack of
Mm.
community. I was just on my own. That was where I was able to see. I can't see ahead that space. But when I start relating with people and working in the community, and I see maybe I'll see someone that this person work as maybe a company in the like if you are in Nigeria, you work at a company in the UK or in the US. Be like, how is this possible? That means I can do this thing. You ask some question, the person be like, okay, just share your work publicly, network, attend conferences, and do some other thing. Apply, revamp your resume, and you see that when you start doing this process, because of this person have learned from experience, things just work. They'll be like, oh, that means I can work from this way. I can work worldwide. I'm a global talent. Then you start thinking beyond Nigeria or Africa. I'll say that's the power of community.
Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you're watching this from. Welcome once again to my YouTube channel or my podcast. I have a very big personality today. I've been chasing this big man for some weeks, but finally we're able to record this, which is really good. Um, let me give you the honor of introducing yourself so that it will be done properly. I like to do that, so maybe you tell us your name, what you've done, what you do, and the likes.
Yeah, so my name is Gift Ojeabulu. Yeah, so I'll say I have a blend of different skill, right, and things I've done. I'll say I've worked as a data scientist, I've worked as a community builder, and I've worked as a developer advocate. Yeah, so I've been in tech now, I would say professionally, non-professional. I would say non-professionally, I've been in tech since 2016. Yeah, so that's like 8 years. Yeah, like from now, like going back. That was when I was in school because like I studied computer science, so I've been in tech trying to just like do tech for passion and so on. But I'll say professionally, all together, I'll say I've been in tech for 4+ years now. Yeah, so in summary, what I've done over the years is like a blend of trying to like get data driven insights and also community building and product advocacy. I'll say that's a blend. That's everything I've done in like for years now. But if you want me to like buttress on the things I've done as a data scientist, a developer advocate, and a community builder, I can extend like buttressing community. So that's what.
Hmm. Yeah, actually, we would really talk a lot about that community building, because I think what you yourself, um Olarinwaju Oyiboke, I also had him on the last episode.
Yeah, that's
Who else? There's this other person that I have on my
David
contact. What's his name? David.
Okpeyemi
Yeah, the
Fabi.
three of you. What you guys? Okay, exactly. Like what you guys have achieved on the community building part in Africa, I think is actually quite big. So I personally, aside from even having this interview with you, I'm genuinely interested, because I think that there's a lot there's a lot that people can get from being part of a community as a data scientist or as a data analyst or a data engineer, whatever you do. But maybe I go back to my favorite question and I like to ask people, and it is because I'm asking this question because I think a lot of people make the mistake. So you have a computer science background, you have a computer science
Yeah.
degree. People who don't have that kind of degree will be listening to this. They are aspiring to be data scientists or data analysts. Do you think that having that degree has sort of given you an edge or makes you better than someone who does not have? And do you think someone who doesn't have that computer science degree can also do well in data analytics, data engineering, data science, whatever they choose?
All right. Okay. The truth is, I would say I don't think me having a computer science degree makes me better than anybody that does not have. Because the truth is, the like data science is even a bigger part of other fields than just computer science. See what I mean? For example, if you are doing software engineering is a bigger part of computer science. I would say there are a lot of
Mm,
things mathematics students, economics students, and
mm,
statistics students do with. They have more experience with data science than a computer science student. That's the funny thing. Because let me give an instance. Based on what like is expected, if you are coming to work maybe as a data scientist, ML, for instance, and data engineering, you are expected to have some
mhm.
knowledge of mathematics, right? Though it's different for
Yeah.
different fields. You are expected to know more of statistics than maths for a data analyst, from what I know. But if you are coming to maybe data science, ML, in terms of deploying model and so on, you are expected to have good knowledge of mathematics, for instance. Okay, one of the like the type of mass that is expected, for instance, for a data scientist role right now is numerical method.
Mm,
Numerical method,
mm,
statistics students did numerical method, mathematics students did numerical method, and computer science students did numerical method. So the truth is, I'm just giving an instance now that is a blend of a lot of things happening. You get, but let me go outside the physical science part because all these that I've been mentioning, engineering, physical science, they're in the STEM part, and one way or the other, they might do like maybe differential equation or calculus. So let me just leave outside that part and move to other side. Maybe people that study maybe medicine and so on. The truth is, I'll say having a computer science degree, I would say it has its advantage, right? Let me give an instance. Personally, for me, I did SQL as a course. You get,
mhm,
and we
mm.
like we did SQL as an exam, though on paper, right? As an exam that we
Yeah.
are trying to like do stuff, trying to join different table. We did stuff like I'm trying to remember now. It's been long, but uh, definitely joins and democratization and so on. So we did this now as an as exam. So we did again data structures and algorithm things like this. So me as a data scientist now, when I remember one time where we were having conversation and I was like, data structure and algorithm is very important. Now you said you want to learn stuff about data structures and algorithm. I don't know
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
remember.
I remember.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah. Yeah. True. True.
yeah, yeah.
Stuff like that.
Something like yeah, so something like that for me now. I would say there's one book called Java that was in 200 level by Daniel Lang. It has 1,204 pages. The truth is, I read that book back to back up to 3 times. Now there is a big part of data structures and algorithm there. That part was what made me understand programming outside data science now. And me, I came
Mm,
into data science coming from someone that started doing web development and Android development before I came into data science. The web dev
mm,
part, that's the software engineering part, is a bigger part of data science where you are trying to like deploy and trying to like push Streamlit and Gradule and make things easier now, right? But before
yeah.
then, there's a big part where you need to combine using HTML, CSS, JavaScript. You need to like even go fast as using JavaScript because it works well when you want to deploy on the web browser, right? So things like that. But I
That's
like it's
easy. You do Flask and you have to write HTML codes and the likes
yeah,
before streaming.
but Streamlit now and Gradle make it easier. So you don't have to go go to that part. It's now abstracted. But in some, I would say having a computer science degree has its own advantage because you learn about normal some parts of networking, which some point you can even need the software, basic software engineering, like mathematics. Even I did artificial intelligence as a course, for instance. You get as a course in 300 level. So things like that has its own advantage, but it doesn't mean because of you have a computer science degree, you have an edge over others. It doesn't mean everything depends on personal. It's more of it's more of personality than
Mm,
maybe your personal journey than maybe just a generic thing. So you can't generalize in this term. It depends on the person. Just like the way I'll stop it here. So now, just like the way sometimes you can see someone of 1+ years experience
mm,
do something that someone of 2+ years can do, depending on their function. You get, so sometimes it's not some of these things are not straightforward. It just
mm.
depends on the person on its own. Yeah. So if you are willing to learn, I'll say learning is learning how to learn and maybe consistency. That's the two most important thing. Everything is just will be covered. Yeah.
Mm. I see. Really, I always ask my guests that question because oftentimes I teach data science and I see that sometimes some students just have this mentality that, oh, I don't have a mathematics degree, I don't have a computer science degree, so I will struggle, I will not do well learning data science or learning, learning um, data analytics or data engineering. So I just thought, as a pro that you are, you should, and you will have that degree. Let me ask you. Let's move on
Yeah.
to the big part.
Okay.
Community building. You've done
Okay.
a lot of that. Sincerely,
Yeah.
I'm first of all interested in, maybe let us start from DataFest. There's no way we'll talk
Okay.
about you. There's no way we'll talk about DataFest Africa. We'll not talk about you. Yes, it doesn't just work.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did it start? Why did you guys just sit down one day and say we want to do this? Because I just saw a tweet by Onyiboke and we're saying we're checking out venues. That was the first tweet I saw. This was like 2 or 3 years ago. We were checking out venues and we are hosting the biggest data conference in
Yeah.
Africa. And I'm like, how are these guys? How are these guys think? And when we look at it now, it's a reality. That
Yeah.
meetup is sort of the biggest. So
Mm.
how did it start? Why did you guys decide to do that?
All right, let me just say the story from how it started. The truth is, DataFest, first of all, this is how it started with conversation between me and Ola. We are bothered about me and Ola used to be active on LinkedIn, first of
Mm,
all, right? So we see that there are a lot of data people on LinkedIn, like a lot of people post content on LinkedIn and you get like that. But when we started getting active on Twitter at that time, me and Ola, like I'll say in the Nigerian space, we are one of the most active in the data space. So we
mm,
noticed that we barely used to get engagements. So
mm,
we started asking ourselves question that why is it that a lot of data people like to seclude themselves from the normal tech space? Like if you tell some data people that they are tech bro, some of them will be like, I'm a data analyst, not necessarily a tech bro. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. They feel like tech bro
mm,
are like software engineers, Android developers, web developers, because that's what a lot of people started with in this space. So we started looking at this
mm,
that how can we bring this collaboration together? You get, so we started by tweeting always, trying to like make stuff clear, and one way or the other, people started coming, joining, people started tweeting too, interacting. So we noticed something that people started pushing out tweets about data analysis, data science, ML. But we noticed that there's still a gap in the sense that the community is not like there's this online presence, right? But the physical part is lacking. So that was what brought me, David, Ola, and Okbe. So we started talking, like having a conversation on Twitter, sharing on the TL. If I search for some keywords, I'll see it through my tweet. That's like, how are we going to like even bring people together and just have conversation on that? So these are the next thing is within that period, global power platform.
mm-hmm.
David held global because it works for Microsoft. Global power
Yeah.
platform is like yes, it's a Microsoft conference sort of, but they call it global power platform bootcamp. So when we got to that event, it was me, David, Okbe, and Ola that was at that event. Like that after we've talked about this. So the thing is, me, David, and Ola, we just randomly have a conversation that hopefully we will hold something like this. Definitely, that was February of that year, 2022. That we need to hold something like this, general for the data space. We didn't dwell on it. We are just like we hold something like this. So that's how the conversation just died down. Then the next thing is I submitted a talk to Oscar Fest, right? On I think MLOps with DVC and DAX or something like that. Yeah. So I submitted that talk and I noticed that the attention was more focused on software engineering guys and more of product designers. As
Mm,
at that time, I
yeah.
noticed that my workshop precisely, my talk for precisely, there are barely data. People were much in the conference, obviously, but when it comes to like a talk, like there are barely data people present at that event. So I was feeling very bad. I was like, a lot of people here, the people, everybody there, they were not more than I think they were not more than 16 from what I remember. So after finishing that workshop, I told some guys that the truth is we will hold a conference soon. I don't know how it will happen, but we just have to hold a conference. You get things like this have to just happen in the data space. You get so
Mm,
it's more of emotion. When I got home, then I tweeted something. I was like, one day there'll be a conference where from data engineers, data scientists, data analysts, data architects, Power BI developers, computer vision engineers. I listed several roles like that they will come together to hold a conference together where a lot of people give workshop. And I tag people. I tag Wale Akinfadere from Amazon. I tag Sadiq. I tag Vangelis, and I tag some other people. And the fun fact is, speaking right now, Sadiq and Wale Akinfadere, they've given talk at DataFest. They gave talk last year. That's the fun
Wow.
fact. Yeah. Yeah. So the thing is, yeah. So the thing is, I tagged them randomly. This was me just tweeting. So I noticed that a lot of people started commenting, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it, let's make this happen. Then people commenting, even Ola commented, Okpe commented on that tweet. Then like David also tweeted that we are starting a conference which should be called DataFest and all. And that was how me, David, we just created a group, tried to we brought like Ola, Okpe, and we brought other people interested together. And that was how DataFest started. You get. So the other part of trying to bring sponsors, trying to like do other things, that one was a full story on its own. You get. It's a full story on its own. So that was how the thing started. We came together and we are like, okay, we started with DataFest Africa, which is just the conference. Why we later brought out Data Community Africa that goes beyond the conference. So we did the conference part and the hackathon together, and we think like we need to extend it to a non-profit organization just beyond doing conference every year. Because if people ask before, that's why you see people know DataFest Africa than Data Community Africa, because which is what we started with. So at the last conference, I had to start defining Data Community Africa differently as DataFest Africa as a small section under Data Community Africa. Why Data Community Africa is like the embodiment of it. I had to start explaining to people. You get. So things like that. Yeah, that was how I started.
Wow, amazing story. One thing I see from what you said is like it was just the right time, and the fact is also that people saw that it was important for them. People saw, so you had that rallying round from everybody. It was sort of everybody needed it, but they didn't know maybe
how to make it happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk about. We are already talking about Data Community Africa now. Let's talk about community building.
Okay.
For you as a community builder, why would you say someone who works as a data scientist or as a data engineer or as a data analyst or whatever, or ML engineer should be part of a community, actively part of a community? Why would you say someone should be actively part of a community?
Okay, that's a very good question. I would say, let me start from this part. For someone that grew up in Africa, I know you grew up in Africa too. I might be wrong, but for someone that grew up in Africa, as at 15 years ago, people really used to talk about maybe I want to be a software engineer. Everybody just wants to be a doctor. Everybody just wants to be a lawyer or a banker. That's a general thing in the African space. Let me limit it to Nigeria from what I know. But that was the career people know. So the thing is, tech in Africa actively started like this 2024, right? It started like, I would say 10 to 12 years ago, actively. Actively, 10 to 12 years ago, actively. That's when tech in Africa started. I know that in places like US, where like they've been building a lot of things might not be like that. So because of when things like this starts, the power of community in this point is collaboration. A lot of times, when you want to learn something, maybe I want to learn about machine learning on my own now. We know how machine learning can be so hard, especially before all this LLM, trying to like use LangChain, Llama and the rest like that. At a point, trying to learn ML, people could not differentiate between data analysis, data science and machine learning. I don't know if you remember, at a point. People used to come into data science, machine learning first before they think of data analysis. It was at a point where data analysis now starts springing out and people start separating it. I'm saying in Africa now, in Nigeria, from what I know. So this thing is, the power of community is in this sense is you know the right place to fall in based on your interest. You know the right place to fall in, like your journey. Maybe you are supposed to go from here to yeah, let me use flight. Maybe I'm supposed to go from here to London from here to Gatwick, London, for instance. Now, when you enter a straight flight, you spend like maybe 6 hours. But when you enter a flight that maybe before you go to London, you stop at Ethiopia, then Ethiopia, you stop someone else, maybe like 2 stop or 3 stop, the journey becomes stressful and long. That's where community comes in. When there is presence of community, you can just enter flight from Lagos to London, 6 hours, you are there, you are not stressed, you get. Things are figured out. That's why you see these days that in Africa, where people start their data career, for instance, now, in like 6 months, 1 year, everything is sorted out. But I would say as at maybe 2016, 2017, a lot of people in the data science space, it took them at least 2 years to get a solid job. I mean, solid is even overrated. It took people at least 1 year and some months to get an internship. If you go back to get an internship, it took people 1 year and some more. And why it's taking these people? It's not because the tech market was saturated and because of the layoffs at then. It's because of a lot of confusion and things were not clear. So people start learning things that they were not necessarily what they need to learn. You see someone want to be a data analyst, instead just learn Excel, Power BI first, then Power BI or Excel first, then just work with SQL. The person start from Python first of all, learn programming, learn HTML, CSS, learn JavaScript, then come back to SQL, then learn Python for machine learning, then come back to, like, everything is just scattered, nothing is clear. So things like these are what community is trying to solve. I'll say in my own sense, like, community just solve the sense of, like, I'll say collaboration and clarity. Yeah, let's use that. Yeah, collaboration and clarity. And okay, there's this African proverb that say, let me end it with this, that say, when you go alone, I've forgotten how did he say, what was that proverb say? That
you will go far, but when you go as a group, you will go. When you go alone, you will go fast.
Yes,
when you
exactly.
go as a group, you will go far.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's just the definition of community. You feel like, okay, when you're on your own, you feel like, okay, you are going far. You don't know the possibility of things. At a point, I never thought maybe I will apply for a job from Nigeria and I'll get a global job or a worldwide job. I never thought about that point in my life. I was just thinking of, if I can work at InterSwitch or I can work at maybe Sterling Bank or Flutterwave, I've made it in life. That's because of lack of community. I was just on my own. That was where I was able to see. I can't see ahead that space. But when I start relating with people and working in the community, and I see, maybe I'll see someone that this person work as maybe a company in the, like, you are in Nigeria, you work at a company in the UK or in the US. Be like, how is this possible? That means I can do this thing. You ask some question, the person be like, okay, just share your work publicly, network, attend conferences, and do some other thing. Apply, revamp your resume. And you see that when you start doing this process, because of this person have learned from experience, things just work. They'll be like, oh, that means I can work from this way. I can work worldwide. I'm a global talent. Then you start thinking beyond Nigeria or Africa. I'll say that's the power of community. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. And as you were speaking, I was just telling myself that when people are about to start up in data, maybe start their data learning journey, why don't we also advise them that alongside learning online, that they should actually find a community to join? Because then they'll probably get a lot of their questions answered instead of wasting their time and all of those. That's
If you check well, let me mention this. If you check well, Stack Overflow on its own is a community.
Yeah.
Because of why? Because people are yes, it's a community. Even Reddit on its own is a community. And if you check well, Stack Overflow, platform like Stack Overflow, Reddit, they are a big part of the tech community. Where the tech community is now, from like doing stuff like all this ChatGPT answering questions and all, you can't remove places like Stack Overflow and Reddit from the history of these things. They are very, very important. Because of why? There is a sense of community where people come together, drop questions, there is answer. That's community. Like, community is not necessarily, okay, we want to, like, we are 50 and we need to attend a meetup or something like that. That's not community. It's just where 2 or more people are gathered and they share and they are of the same mindsets and they share similar ideas. That's community. So things like that. Yeah.
Amazing. So we've talked a lot about why someone should join a community. You
Yeah.
are a community builder. You are a developer advocate. You do this a lot. You've seen the advantage. I think that there are people who will say that I want to also maybe build a community. I want to start. I want to maybe in my campus, in my university.
Yeah.
How would you recommend that they get started?
Okay. For me, I would say let's be practical now from the experience of DataFest and MLOps and some other stuff because I like how you asked this question. When I was actually in school, me and Ryzen, I don't know if you Ryzen, we came together and few friends. We actually organized the first conference in our school. Like there were over 200 and something students in that conference. So we came together, we organized the first conference in our school. So I'll share my experience as how I did that as a student. So this is how it works. First of all, you try and see a gap. The point of having a community is not because of you just see like we want to have a community and so on. It's just like a product. When you notice problems that human have and you are trying to build a product that solve that problem, people will adopt that product more than when you just decide that you want to start a company.
Hmm.
If you check the way ChatGPT came out, ChatGPT coming out it came out at the right time. A lot of things that make ChatGPT popular, it came naturally because of why? That's a problem people are trying to form solution for. Generally across board in every sector. Because people be
Hmm.
like, okay, we have something like Google search, right? If you check the way Google search was built, is a solution like is like a solution to a problem. So how can we be precise and we can give something that you can interact with? Because a lot of time when you search Google, you need something that is more personal, that can give you ideas, right? So that can
Yeah.
make you just improve on existing. It's just like existing something that is on ground that can make you build on top what you have. So how can we do this? Everything around this was what the solution came out from. So that's why you see people adopt this technology because they needed it. Is a solution, is a crucial solution that needs to be solved. So that's why you can ask maybe you can ask someone from a grown up, an advanced person from let me just give maybe an organization from like maybe my let me give my state and Edo states now, and you mention something about ChatGPT, even students in Nigeria that some people don't have access to some information and they'll be like, yeah, we've heard something like that. Let me now tell you something. When I introduced ChatGPT to that's my niece, right? Yes, my niece. She's in GS2. She was so excited because see what happened. Her name is Divine, right? So I was like, Divine, do you know that this question that you asked me, like that should solve for you as a solution? Because of I'm busy, you get, I might not be able to commit time to come and be looking into it. I know it's right. But in some few cases, let me give proof to you that these questions can be solved even without me doing it. Then I say, bring the question. Then I type the question on ChatGPT and Gem. Then I typed it. And it brought the step-by-step solution. If you see how she was jumping and she was happy, she was like, wow, I just learned something. I'll go and tell my friend in school, see this new thing. I don't even know about this thing. I only know about Google and Wikipedia. That's to tell you that there is a problem that needed a solution. Now, if you see a gap in the community that needs to be solved and you start a community from there, people will adopt it generally. If you see data first now, when we post, you just see people coming together to like retweet, pushing it even than the funny thing is, I noticed that some people are more excited about data first than I am. You get, as in some
Hmm.
point, someone will be like, data first is coming, and I'll be like, me that I'm involved in this thing, me, I'm not even as excited than this person. That's because of it's a solution to a problem. Things like this. So
Okay.
when you discover that solution, then you find like minds. That's the next thing that happened in data first. You find like minds. You see people that they have similar mindset in the sense that this person is interested in data science, this person is someone that maybe they used to go to conference, attend event also. For someone going to all those things, there is like a trait of things that they like the sense of involving with people. So
Hmm.
when you see that gap and you look for someone with that mindset, then you come together and solve that solution. To me, I'll say that's the basic way of building community. You get, because if you come together now, when you come together, that's the collaboration, right? You start sharing ideas like, what do you think? You start seeing different point of view. Like, okay, this one will be like, I think we can solve this like this. I think we can solve this like this. No, let's correct this. Now, when you are coming from this perspective, the more you what you build, like you this is how it works. It's like rubber, right? I don't know if you know. I don't want to go into law of elasticity. So the thing is, the more you draw rubber, the more rubber expands. You understand? The only difference here
Yeah.
is it won't cut. It won't cut. The only difference between the rubber and the community here, it won't cut. The more you like bridge in and try to like put things together, the more ideas start coming up and you start expanding, improving, and the thing can start becoming bigger. So that's my own advice. To I won't give maybe a step by step approach. I'll just say the first thing now is note a gap. Then the second
Mm.
thing is find people of similar interests and try to bring them together and work on that goal, on solving the solution through that gap. I'll say that's what you mean. That's what is like trying to solve a community problem. Or what's the question you asked? Yeah.
Yeah, sort of trying to build a community. Thank you for that
Yeah,
explanation.
yeah.
I see practically what you're saying with the way DataFest Africa started, finding that gap where you know that there's a problem and you try to plug in a solution, and you are trying to find a community of like-minded people. I don't want to take too much time. We're already 30 minutes into this. I'm actually
Yeah.
quite enjoying the way you're explaining this. I
Yeah.
think having a community is very important. Also, here in Berlin, I live in Germany, and in Berlin, I attended a meetup sometime this year. It was basically for data leaders, people who were leading teams, data teams, and
Yeah.
I could see that the problems that I was facing were also sort of not peculiar to me. It was similar to what everybody was facing, and we were both talking about solutions. And I tell you, I was sharing on LinkedIn that this is the best meeting I've attended this year, because it was just really like it made me feel
People of like minds.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. It made me feel not alone and lonely.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
one question to sort of begin to round off would be, so you talked about you finding the need for DataFest Africa because you
Yeah.
presented at Oscar Fest.
Yeah.
Generally, I know that you're always sharing and presenting,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I want us to talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
I think that in our field, in the data field generally, we don't have so many communicators. And if
Yeah.
we don't have communicators, knowledge will not spread. Knowledge transfer
Yeah.
will not be easy, because
Yeah.
everybody who has
Yeah.
that knowledge will only stay within them and they would not talk
Yeah.
about it. So
Yeah.
if you find someone who says, "Oh, I'm trying to present, I'm trying to give a talk at the conference and this," what would you advise them? What should they do? How should they go about it?
Okay. Let me rephrase the question so that I'll answer it. I'll say someone interested in like maybe public speaking at maybe
Exactly.
conferences or meetup, and they are not clear about how they can start. Maybe some of them might feel like, am I good enough to actually go and speak at conferences, or how should I go about this? Okay, I'll say my advice is the thing is just start from somewhere. So the way I build my whole momentum was I'll say is as a result of Twitter and LinkedIn. Personally, I'll say I know people used to be like, well, I'll say I'm an ambivert. Sometimes I can be an extrovert, I guess. Sometimes I can be an introvert. The only thing that make me look like I'm naturally, I would say like 80% to 85% an extrovert is because of the way I was brought up. Like I was brought up in a way like trying to relate with people and stuff like that. But personally, I like my space a lot. The truth is, when I started posting on LinkedIn, before I used to be scared of sharing my project. When I started posting on LinkedIn and Twitter, sometimes I'll be like, I've done rubbish again, oh, but let me just post it. Like that's how I used to think that, and this thing is not spectacular. Let me just post it. I beg me that I'm finding jobs. I will not just put something. After all, I don't know anybody, so I'll just post. Then I'll just see people be like, wow, I learned a lot from this thing. I'll be shocked that, wait, is it that these people say they don't know anything? So I even have hope like this. So me, I even have hope like this. These people don't know anything. Then I start saying that it's not that people don't know anything. Sometimes you are in your head. The things you know, you feel like they are not spectacular because of you are in your space. You are the only one, like you are the only one that can, I don't know how to put it, but things like that. But when you start sharing it, you see that the things you know, a lot of people don't actually know them. And if you share it with people, it will help a lot of people move forward. So this is the brain, this is the rule I used to follow. Is if you are one step ahead of someone, share something, that thing that is one step ahead of the person, that will make the person move to another step. The person moving to another step will make you move to another step. So that's how I started. Yeah, so I started posting on LinkedIn, posting on Twitter. Then that fear of to start maybe interacting with people, then I started getting used to interacting with people. Then the next thing I did was I started attending conferences. You get, so I started attending conferences, boot camp, and I noticed that okay, I'll listen to someone talk, just listen to it and the rest like that. And after the person is through with their conference or maybe stuff like that, I tend to ask them questions that in terms of like how you gave this conference, were you not scared and all? And a lot of them will give me similar answer is the thing is just do it. The more you do it, the more you become better. Then that was how I started. Randomly, I just submitted the talk. And if you want to do it a lot of times, start small. Maybe you can start from maybe a small meetup, a webinar, maybe like we'll soon start having like monthly webinar for DataFest, for example. Now, when people are organizing Twitter spaces, there's now Twitter spaces, right? And like all these online webinar, you can start like this podcast now. Go to that place and speak. When you go to that place and give talk now, you start improving. You start improving with time. Then from there, you notice that, you can go and speak at maybe a small meetup, then you can speak at somewhere like DataFest, then you can speak at somewhere like Oscar Fest, things like that, and it keeps building up. Then you go international, then you are not scared alone. Public speaking is an art. Forget what you know, first of all. Someone that knows a lot, like someone that have a lot of experience and is not a good communicator, and you don't have the act of public speaking, you feel like the person no less than someone that is a good communicator and is a good public speaker, because of how their way of delivery is different. Because there's how the person will just talk about it and you'll be like, wow, this person is so experienced about this thing, is so good and all. But this person is just a better public speaker and communicator than this other person. But practically doing that thing, this person might be better than that other person that is a public speaker. It's just because of over time, public speaking is an experience, just like writing. You improve with time. The more you write, the more you improve. That's how it is, yeah.
I see. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that advice. Last one before we go. Last one, so that I don't take you keep it forever. I'm actually enjoying the whole community thing because this is something I'm also learning myself. And also public speaking. If anybody were to listen to this podcast and say, "Oh, thank you very much, Gift, for all of this explanation. Thank you for telling me about community." What communities would you recommend them to join if they are in Africa? What communities would you recommend?
In Africa, first of all, since this is a data podcast, right? I would say obviously data community Africa, right? You get before any community, before even data community Africa or other community, I would say relate with people on maybe Twitter or on LinkedIn. Try to interact with people. Like when they post, if you have something insightful to share, comment. To me, that's the sense of community, first of all. Then doing all this, you will now look for conferences like communities like maybe DataFest Africa. There's Masakani. Masakani are people interested in writing research paper and research precisely in ML. There's Masakani. There is like deep learning in Daba. There is MLOps community. I do and do that. There used to be DSN. I don't know of now how strong they are. There used to be Data Science Network. So I would say these are the ones. And if you want to look for generic community, there's community like Oscar Fest, like attending, because community in this sense is Discord. The Discord channel is not necessarily community. You get, community can be maybe you attending a conference. So some of these community have conferences, like it's called Data Community Africa, but we have a conference called DataFest Africa, which is a physical community. Oscar Fest, they have community called Open Source Community Africa, but they have what is the name? A physical conference called Oscar Fest Africa. Same as deep learning in Daba, you get that's a physical community. There's deep learning in Daba X and there's the main in Daba. So I would say first start by interacting online and trying to like relate with people of like minds first of all. Then before you think of joining communities, like maybe from conferences to maybe meetups, then trying to like relate with people generally, or maybe a Discord platform or something like that. I'll say that that's the definition of community to me. So that's my own advice.
Mm. Thanks a lot. Thank you for today. Thank you so much. I think the online
Yeah,
thing that you talked about is very important because I mean, I met you online. We started talking a lot online. I met
yeah,
Olariwaju Iboki also online before we even met in person. I got his phone number. David also the same thing
yeah,
online, and really just seeing people in the field and just learning from them as personally, even though I'm far away, just help me,
yeah,
and you just know that this. And also
yeah,
when you have questions, like you're trying to learn something, you can also get advice. So definitely recommend doing that, at least for a start,
yeah,
at least.
yeah.
Thank you so much for today, Gift. Thank you very much.
Thank you, boss. Yeah.
I'm gonna put his handle in his Twitter and his LinkedIn in the description on this channel. So please make sure you follow him. He's a top guy, speaking everywhere. I want to be like him when I grow up.
There you
But
go.
anyway, thank you for making this happen, and I will see everyone again on the other side.